You did everything right. You hit the six-figure milestone. Your household income is now $150,000. But for some reason, you still feel like you're just getting by. You aren't poor by definition, but your bank account says otherwise. Today, we're looking at the silent poverty of the $150,000 household and why more money hasn't solved your stress. My name is Ely, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people in the U.S. experience money psychologically. If you're someone who earns a normal income, maybe even more than you used to, but still doesn't feel financially secure, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. This channel exists for people exactly like that, and I think you're going to want to stick around for what I'm about to break down. Here's the thing. $150,000 sounds like a lot of money. On paper, it puts a household above roughly 85% of American earners, according to Census Bureau income distribution data. It's the kind of number that used to mean stability, maybe even comfort. Your parents probably would have called that rich. But talk to actual people earning it, in cities like Denver, Austin, Chicago, or anywhere with a normal cost of living, and you'll hear a completely different story. They're stressed. They're tired. They're one car repair away from feeling like the whole month is ruined. And that gap between what the number should feel like and what it actually feels like is what I call silent poverty. Now look, silent poverty isn't about not having money. It's about having money that disappears before it ever gets the chance to make you feel secure. Let's do the math, because the math is where this starts to make sense. A household earning $150,000 a year is bringing home, after federal tax, state tax, and payroll tax, somewhere around $110,000, depending on the state. That's roughly $9,200 a month. Sounds fine so far. Now subtract rent or a mortgage. In a mid-size American city, a reasonable but not extravagant home costs somewhere between $2,200 and $3,000 a month. That's already a third of your take-home pay gone before you've bought a single grocery item. Add 2 car payments, because in most of the U.S., you need 2 cars if there are 2 working adults, and that's another $800 to $1,200 a month. Add health insurance premiums and out-of-pocket costs, which for a family of 4 now average over $600 a month according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. Add childcare, if there are kids, which in many states costs more than in state college tuition, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics childcare cost surveys. Suddenly, that $9,200 a month has shrunk to maybe $1,500 in actual discretionary space. And that's before groceries, gas, subscriptions, and the 20 other small charges that quietly hit your card every week. Here's what most people don't realize. The stress you feel isn't really about the total number on your paycheck. It's about the gap between your fixed obligations and your flexible cash. Psychologists call this cognitive load, the mental bandwidth eaten up by constant low-level financial calculation. A study published through Princeton researchers on scarcity found that financial pressure doesn't just cost you money, it costs you thinking capacity. People under financial strain performed measurably worse on cognitive tasks, not because they were less capable, but because part of their brain was always running background math on rent, bills, and upcoming expenses. That's the real cost of the $150,000 trap. It's not poverty of income. It's poverty of mental space. This is where it gets interesting, because income going up doesn't automatically fix this. In fact, for a lot of households, a raise makes things worse before it makes them better. Here's why. When people get promoted or switch to a higher-paying job, their spending usually increases almost immediately, sometimes before the new paycheck even arrives. Economists call this lifestyle creep, but I think that name is too polite. It's not creeping. It's sprinting. A new job that pays $15,000 more a year often comes with a slightly better apartment, a slightly nicer car, more dinners out, because the identity shift happens instantly. You feel like a person who earns more, so you start living like one, often before the extra income has even stabilized in your bank account. Now you might be thinking, that's just bad discipline. People should budget better. And sure, budgeting matters. But this isn't purely a discipline problem. It's an identity problem. Behavioral economists have shown that people don't just spend based on math. They spend based on self-image. When your income goes up, your brain updates its idea of what lifestyle matches that new identity, often within days. According to a 2023 Federal Reserve survey on economic well-being, Over a third of adults earning more than $100,000 a year reported they would struggle to cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing or selling something. Let that sink in for a second. This isn't a low-income issue. It's happening at six figures because the lifestyle expanded exactly as fast as the paycheck did. Here's another piece most people miss: comparison. Humans don't evaluate their financial situation in isolation. They evaluate it relative to their surroundings. This is sometimes called the reference group effect. If everyone around you, your coworkers, your neighbors, your college friends on social media, appears to be living a certain lifestyle, your brain treats that lifestyle as the baseline, not the ceiling. So even earning $150,000, if your neighbor just renovated their kitchen and your cousin just bought a boat and your coworker just came back from a trip to Japan, your brain quietly recalibrates what feels normal. And normal starts costing more than what you're actually bringing in. Think of it like a treadmill that keeps speeding up every time you reach the speed you were aiming for. You're not standing still, you're actually working harder than ever, but you never seem to arrive anywhere because the target keeps moving right along with your effort. Now let's talk about safety, because this is really the core of the psychological piece. Financial stress isn't primarily about spreadsheets, it's about a felt sense of safety. Maslow's hierarchy puts safety near the base of human needs, right above basic survival. When your finances feel unpredictable, even if the numbers technically work out most months, your nervous system doesn't calm down. It stays on alert. According to the American Psychological Association's annual Stress in America survey, money consistently ranks as the top stressor for U.S. adults, higher than work, higher than relationships, higher even than health in many years. And this isn't limited to lower income brackets. Households earning over $100,000 report money-related stress at rates that are barely lower than households earning half that amount. Why would that be true? Because safety isn't about the size of the number, it's about the size of the buffer. A person earning $70,000 with 3 months of expenses saved and no debt often feels more secure than a person earning $150,000 living paycheck to paycheck with a car loan, a mortgage stretched to the edge of affordability, and zero savings cushion. The brain doesn't calculate stress based on income. It calculates stress based on margin, the space between what comes in and what's required to stay afloat. So here's the uncomfortable truth hiding underneath all of this. Many households earning $150,000 a year are living closer to the edge than they'd ever admit publicly, because admitting it feels embarrassing. There's a strange kind of shame attached to financial stress at a higher income level. If you're earning that much and still stressed, some part of you assumes you must be doing something wrong, so people hide it. They keep making the car payment, keep posting the vacation photos, keep pretending everything is fine, while quietly avoiding their banking app, because looking at the actual numbers feels unbearable. That avoidance has a name too: financial ostrich behavior, well documented in behavioral finance research, and it's incredibly common precisely among people who feel they should be doing better than they are. Now, let's shift from the problem to the pattern, because once you see the pattern, the fix becomes a lot more obvious. The core issue isn't the number $150,000. The core issue is the ratio between fixed obligations and flexible income, combined with a lifestyle that expands automatically with earnings, combined with comparison-driven spending, combined with an absence of buffer. Fix any two of those four, and the psychological experience of income changes dramatically, even without earning a single extra dollar. Here's what that actually looks like in practice. First, separate your identity from your paycheck size before you separate your spending. This sounds abstract, but it's the most important step. Before increasing any spending after a raise, wait 60 to 90 days and let the new income simply exist in your account without letting it define a new lifestyle immediately. This single delay interrupts the automatic identity-based spending reflex that causes lifestyle creep in the first place. Second, calculate your actual margin, not your income. Take your take-home pay, subtract every fixed obligation, housing, transportation, insurance, minimum debt payments, and what's left is your real number, the one that determines your stress level far more than your salary does. Most people have never actually calculated this number. They just feel vaguely uneasy without knowing why. Once you see it in writing, the anxiety becomes specific instead of vague. and specific problems are solvable in a way vague dread never is. Third, build a buffer before you build a lifestyle. Even a modest reserve, 1 month of essential expenses, changes the nervous system's baseline. It's not about the total amount. It's about interrupting the paycheck-to-paycheck feedback loop that keeps your brain on high alert. Federal Reserve data consistently shows that households with even a small emergency reserve report significantly lower financial anxiety than those without one, regardless of total income. Fourth, audit your comparison inputs. Notice who you're unconsciously measuring your life against, and be honest about whether that comparison group reflects your actual values or just whoever happens to be visible in your feed or your neighborhood. This alone quietly reduces the felt pressure to keep up with spending decisions that were never really about your own goals to begin with. And finally, treat every raise as an opportunity to widen your margin before you widen your lifestyle. Not forever, just temporarily, long enough to build real breathing room. Because breathing room, not income size, is what actually turns a good salary into a felt sense of stability. So here's the calm, honest takeaway. $150,000 is genuinely a strong income in this country, and if it still doesn't feel like enough, that isn't a personal failure, and it isn't proof that you need to earn even more. It's a signal that the gap between obligations, lifestyle, comparison, and buffer needs attention, not the income itself. Fix the ratio, and the number you're already earning starts to feel like what it actually is, plenty. Not because the paycheck changed, but because your relationship with it finally caught up to the math.